Hey, how's it going everybody? It's your boy. In today's video, I thought I would bring the camera out. I've got a new tripod and I think I ought to just talk about a topic that's been brewing in my head, an idea, a thought, if you may, because it's kind of been a very interesting couple of months on Twitter as I've been seeing a particular libertarian account blow up. And their name is Liberty Hangouts. Funnily enough, the video is not actually about them, but they, through making a video where they went around this college campus in America, God knows where they went, asking students about transgender issues, basically saying, is it okay if they have tampons in the men's bathrooms, if they have this, if that, gender neutral bathrooms. It's not actually about that either. It's about the response of the people towards Liberty Hangout. I do believe it's a woman, it's not a man. Maybe a man helps film, maybe it is a man doing the tweets, but the face of it is this ginger lady who always goes on about, I'm armed and dangerous, don't mess with me guys, you're not threatening, nobody's scared of you. And the most general feeling you get from the video, especially from the most famous clips that went viral, was that the people were generally apathetic to her questions and this subject in general. People didn't seem to care that hypothetically the university could, in theory, install tampons in the men's bathrooms for a very, very, very small minority of people. Now, did they not care about the actual act itself? Or is it the idea behind the act? Is it the motives? We don't really know. This apathy didn't come from a sense of, I don't care about issues in general. It's just that in this particular issue, I don't see what's going on here. You need to give me more context maybe. Even if this were to be in place, is this necessarily a bad thing? Is it going to harm anybody? What's the general idea about this? And I think a lot of these people probably just didn't think too deeply into it. They were apathetic. And for a lot of people that was troubling. I guess especially for Liberty Hangouts, who pride themselves as being traditional as well as libertarian. But is apathy really a problem? Is apathy really this problem that we have to deal with? Or does it depend on what kind of apathy? How much apathy do you have? Is it individual? Is it societal? That I'm going to talk about. So I guess firstly is the apathy of the guy who went viral, the man who was called a real libertarian by the likes of Lilith Lovett. The thing that drove his apathy was that as long as it didn't affect him or anybody else, as long as it was not harming anybody, it's none of his business. That is something that a lot of people can sympathise with, I assume, though not a lot of people can sympathise, because as much as they would like to claim that they're not actually trying to police people, they're not trying to control what they're doing, they just try to shame people into doing things a certain way, this appears to be very problematic for them. The reason why it's problematic is these people are not caring about their own pet issues, these people are choosing not to insert themselves into other people's lives, and I guess they think that therefore this could lead society down a dark path. I don't think that type of apathy does lead towards the slippery slope. This is clearly the apathy of an individual as opposed to a societal level. This is his personal take on it. I don't think that his apathy would remain apathy for long if the hypothetical decisions that this university could make harm people. I think he would very much change his opinion very quickly. So that is a kind of apathy that doesn't harm society. In fact, it probably benefits society. Nobody's out there trying to harm each other, nobody's trying to control each other and be a very constraining and restraining society. People are just trying to live and let live. And generally it seems that does seem to help people, it does seem to help societies run. This isn't the type of apathy that would lead to societal collapse. This is an individualistic apathy. This is, well, this person's not harming me and it's not harming my family, it's not harming anybody else in the vicinity, and it's pretty clear that it's not harming anybody, therefore their business is their business. That is something that has generally helped societies, I feel, as opposed to damage them. Because most of the time when we choose to be apathetic in this way, it helps people. It stops us from controlling people in ways that we otherwise wouldn't want to be controlled by ourselves. When individuals choose to basically stick to their own business and not interfere with anybody else, unless of course people are threatened, people are being harmed in whatever way. But then that ceases to be apathy. And even then, it's selective apathy, I guess. They're apathetic towards certain things. They tolerate certain things. But when things go wrong, when things start to intrude on other people's business, then that apathy disappears. Or they're not particularly apathetic to those particular things in general, whatever they may be, and then they decide not to be tolerant. I guess this is getting into Karl Popper's paradox of tolerance, but I'm going to try and not get into that because that's another video I would like to make. But then there is the other apathy, which I think a lot of people were worried that he was exhibiting, and what a lot of the other people were exhibiting, which is this societal apathy that who cares? I don't care about any of this. Why do you care? Nothing matters. It's just nihilism, I guess. And people are worried that that could lead to nihilism. And I could totally see how that apathy could affect a society in a certain way. When nobody cares about the community, nobody cares about family or friends, or even just individuals they don't know, just strangers in general. Like in Joker, when he complains about people just not being civil. That kind of apathy totally breaks down societies. But that's because it happens on a societal level, when people choose, in the group-think mentality kind of way, to be horrible, to not care about people, to only care about themselves. I mean, the classic case for me in my country is London. Everybody is aware of the stereotype of London being a horrible place where it's dog eat dog, people are rude, obnoxious. On the tube, we've seen stories of pregnant women being complained at by other commuters that they've took this seat, this is their seat, they have to deal with it, they worked hard to get there, things like that. That kind of apathy definitely does not help London. London needs less of that kind of apathy, and more apathy in regards to, look, that's their business, this is my business, let's leave it at that. However, we're a community, we're going to be civil with each other, we're not going to harm each other, we're going to try and make life as tolerable as possible. But in London, that seems to have completely broken down, that seems to have just gone to the wayside. I don't know if that's because London is so big that people are too atomised, so they don't care about all these strange people that they meet, because there's millions and millions of them. Then again, my city is the third or second largest city in the country, and we don't have anywhere near as bad a problem as London does. It is almost customary for most people, unless they're listening to headphones or whatever, maybe they're distracted, to say thank you to bus drivers. Apparently Southerners in general, not just Londoners, don't do that. Is that a cultural thing? Is this a tiny little subculture in the north where we just are more civil and polite to people? We will thank public servants for the good that they do, like bus drivers. Are we a less apathetic people in general in the north? Do we care more about people? Do we care more about things in the world? I don't know. I think in terms of general current events and topics, I would suggest that both Southerners and Northerners, and even those in the Midlands, do care about all sorts of issues. But I guess we choose how apathetic we are. But it's not like Manchester isn't heading down in that direction anyway. We certainly are. I mean, you can easily still strike a conversation with a stranger in this city, pretty much. But it's getting harder and harder because people seem to be a bit more... It's almost like you're in the front to them. You're an obstacle in their path as opposed to another human being who just happens to be in the same area. So just be civil and mind each other. Maybe even smile. In London, they don't seem to have that anymore. It seems to have been lost at some point. I don't know if it's cultural changes across the country happen at different speeds or in different ways. Who knows? This is getting very complicated. So let's get back on topic, I guess, guys. So we have the individualistic apathy that I think is not as bad as the societal apathy, where people seem to just completely not care about anything at all, seemingly. And then we also have this, and I think it's quite an interesting thing to broach. Would you rather have someone hate you or be apathetic towards you? Now there's an interesting idea, isn't it? Because you always hear certain people on the left go, now people have been ignored, people aren't represented. Why is that? Is that because we're apathetic towards them? Is it because we don't care about them? Because to some extent there is a difference between just not caring about somebody and being largely apathetic. Maybe apathetic is, well, yeah, I mean, that's their thing, but you know, it's not harming my business. Well, don't care is like, whatever, man. Don't like you, don't care. Is it that? Or is it just like, yeah, well, they exist, they have problems, yeah, but you have to explain to me what these problems are and why I should care, and then maybe I would be less apathetic. Is that better than hate? Is it better than trying to harm these people for their ethnicity, colour of their skin or whatever? Personally, I'd rather somebody be apathetic than hateful, because why would you want to be hated? Now I know that I'm rambling a bit, guys. This is an idea that I've had for months and not really formulated it properly. I'm not much of a philosopher, but hey, you know what? It's worth the dialogue, I think, with you guys, and helps me get content out on the channel. So I think I'll leave you with this point, which is I think there's not just individualistic apathy or societal apathy, but I think there is selective apathy, and then there seems to be just that kind of apathy that's not selective. Again, like in London, where you just seem to have it with everybody else. you don't selectively do it, it just seems to be a blanket apathy. And I think the selective one is probably better than the blanket apathy. I'm sure there are better terms for this, but this is just how my mind works. But I think that I'd rather it be selective, because then you can decide what you need to care about in a given moment or in a couple of years' time, maybe even decades, because we are short-term animals, really. We don't really think in terms of decades, we think in terms of weeks and months, maybe a few years, if that. That kind of apathy could help with that, because, you're dealing with something in short bits, and you can turn your attention to different things, and then you can turn your attention away from those things when the problem is solved, or maybe you lose interest, because it's not just big current events. It could be anything. You could be apathetic about literally anything. You can hate anything, love anything. You can be interested in anything. This is a very, very broad subject, which is not necessarily something that is to do with social issues, political issues, or anything like that. But a blanket apathy is almost like a fog, a malaise, like a disease, which affects not just one person. That person, I guess, would be a nihilist, maybe. They are generally apathetic. Do they care about their own life? They must do. There is a survival instinct in all of us. But this blanket apathy on a societal level is something that should be cured, because you can't run a successful society with everybody not caring and being apathetic about things. No wonder London is currently falling apart at the seams, because people just don't care about each other, it seems, or at least not enough. They're so short-sighted, so living in their own little bubbles, because not only is London itself a bubble away from all the rest of the UK, but the people living in London are bubbles from each other, and that goes all the way down even to the individual level. And that is something that's rather terrifying if you think about it, that their apathy is so deep that even on the individual level there seems to be that nihilistic fog. And I don't know how you would fix that. I don't know. How do you foster what is essentially a cultural change? How do you prevent a city like mine falling into that trap? Because a lot of people have actually moved up from London to Manchester. I've seen it at uni. They prefer the smaller size, and people are generally nicer. Unfortunately, it's changing. How do you prevent that? Is it something that's inevitable? Is it not inevitable? Is it something that's genetic? Is it environmental? Is it cultural? Who knows? I don't know. I wish I could solve all these issues. This is what Liberty Hangouts has got me talking about, guys. God, Jesus Christ, where are we going to? I don't know. So anyway, that's the end of the video. I'll leave you with that, because honestly, I don't know if this makes any sense. I just hope that this has thrown a few ideas out there for us to riff on in the comments. I'd very much like you to comment on this, because this is an interesting topic. We can all come up with our own ideas and things like that. Honestly, I'm still developing my ideas on apathy and things like that. It might change in a couple of months, maybe a couple of years, you never know. Generally, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think in many ways it can be a good thing, but in many ways it can be a bad thing. I guess it is that old adage that too much of something can be bad for you, but too little can also be bad for you. So you kind of need it right in the middle. And I think that the guy who went viral had it just about. I think maybe he was apathetic a bit too much, because I think there's some issues within that video that does harm people, but I don't know which ones he would necessarily be aware of. Was he aware of all these things, or was it just something that in that present moment he was like, what? Why are you asking me this? I've not thought about this, it's not harming me, whatever. Was it just that immediacy? Who knows? Anyway guys, I'll leave it up to you. See you later.